Okay, this is Faulty Dieting from Dr. Simeons, Pounds and Itches. Few patients will take one's word for it that the slightest deviation from the diet has under HCG disastrous results as far as the weight is concerned. This extreme sensitivity has the advantage that the smallest error is immediately detectable at the daily weighing, but most patients have to make the experience before they will believe it. And I've sure listened to a lot of people say that. Let's see. Persons in high official positions, such as embassy personnel, politicians, senior executives, etc., who are obliged to attend social functions to which they cannot bring their meager meal, must be told beforehand that an official dinner will cost them the loss of about 3 days' treatment. However careful they are, and in spite of a friendly and would-be cooperative host, we generally advise them to avoid all-around embarrassment, the almost inevitable turn of conversation to their weight problem, and the outpouring of lay counsel from their table partners by not letting it be known that they are under treatment. They should take dainty servings of everything, bide what they can under the cutlery, and book the gain which may take 3 days to get rid of as one of the sacrifices which their profession entails. Allowing 3 days for their correction, such incidents do not jeopardize the treatment, provided they do not occur all too frequently, in which case treatment should be postponed to a socially more peaceful season. Vitamins and anemia. Sooner or later, most patients express a fear that they may be running out of vitamins or that the restricted diet may make them anemic. On this score, the physician can confidently relieve their apprehension by explaining that every time they lose a pound of fatty tissue, which they do almost daily, only the actual fat is burned up. All the vitamins, the proteins, the blood, and the minerals which this tissue contains in abundance are fed back into the body. Actually, a low blood count, not due to any serious disorder of the blood-forming tissues, improves during treatment, and we have never encountered a significant protein deficiency nor signs of a lack of vitamins in patients who are dieting regularly. The first days of treatment. On the day of the third injection, it is almost routine to hear two remarks. One is, "You know, Doc, I'm sure it's only psychological, but I already feel quite different." So common is this remark even from very skeptical patients that we hesitate to accept the psychological interpretation. The other typical remark is, "Now that I've been allowed to eat anything I want, I can't get it down. Since yesterday, I feel like a stuffed pig. Food just doesn't seem to interest me anymore, and I am longing to get on with your diet." Many patients notice that they are passing more urine and that the swelling in their ankles is less even before they start dieting. On the day of the fourth injection, most patients declare that they are feeling fine. They have usually lost 2 pounds or more. Some say they feel a bit empty, but hasten to explain that this does not amount to hunger. Some complain of a mild headache, of which they have been forewarned and for which they have been given permission to take aspirin. During the second and third day of dieting, that is, the fifth and sixth injection, these minor complaints improve while the weight continues to drop at about double the usually overall average of almost 1 pound per day, so that a moderately severe case may be the fourth day of dieting have lost it. May by the fourth day of dieting have lost as much as 8 to 10 pounds. Wow. See, I learn something new every time I read this. It is usually at this point that a difference appears between those patients who have literally eaten to capacity during the first 2 days of treatment and those who have not. The former feel remarkably well. They have no hunger, nor do they feel tempted when others eat normally at the same table. They feel lighter, more clear-headed, and notice a desire to move quite contrary to their previous lethargy. Oh, excuse me. Those who have disregarded the advice to eat to capacity continue to have minor discomforts and do not have the same euphoric sense of self-being until about a week later. It seems that their normal fat reserves require that much more time before they are fully stocked. So be sure and do a good job on your load days. It'll make the whole process much less painful. Actually, it's not supposed to be painful. Fluctuations in weight loss. Okay, this is good. After the 4th or 5th day of dieting, the daily loss of weight begins to decrease to 1 pound or somewhat less per day, and there is a smaller urinary output. Men often continue to lose regularly at that rate, but women are more irregular in spite of faultless dieting. There may be no drop at all for 2 or 3 days, and then a sudden loss, which reestablishes the normal average. These fluctuations are entirely due to variations in the retention and elimination of water, which are more marked in women than in men. Okay, so don't get nervous. The weight registered by the scale is determined by 2 processes, not necessarily synchronized under the influence of HCG. Fat is being extracted from the cells in which it is stored in the fatty tissue. When these cells are empty and therefore serve no purpose, the body breaks down the cellular structure and absorbs it. But breaking up of useless cells, connective tissue, blood vessels, etc., may lag behind the process of fat extraction. When this happens, the body appears to replace some of the extracted fat with water, which is retained for this purpose. As water is heavier than fat, the scales may show no loss of weight, although sufficient fat has actually been consumed to make up for the deficit in the 500-calorie diet. When such tissue is finally broken down, the water is liberated and there is a sudden flood of urine and a marked loss of weight. This simple interpretation of what is really an extremely complex mechanism is the one we give those patients who want to know why it is that on certain days they do not lose, though they have committed no dietary error. Patients who have previously regularly used diuretics as a method of reducing lose fat during the first 2 or 3 weeks of treatment, which shows in their measurements, but the scale may show little or no loss because they are replacing the normal water content of their body, which has been dehydrated. Diuretics should never be used for reducing. Interruptions of weight loss. We distinguish 4 types of interruption in the regular daily loss. The first is the one that has already been mentioned, in which the weight stays stationary for a day or 2, and this occurs particularly towards the end of a course in almost every case. Okay, I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to stop here and continue on with the plateau next. Stay tuned.